Now we are ready to install the drum mesh head. Now when I install these, as you can see that when you're setting in front of the drums, this is knitted together. And I like to do the crisscross. It gives it a little more strength, I guess. To me it looks better and I like it that way, but when I install the heads, I always give it that crisscross when I'm sitting in front of the drums instead of going straight across. I guess it doesn't matter, but this is my preference, especially the way this is textured this way and then that way. Just a preference. So when you do this, you want to basically adjust this, put it together as you would your acoustic drums. Now we have our head installed. On putting the drum head on. Now, some say that it doesn't matter how you adjust it. But what you want is you want that bouncy feel. See, as you drop your drumsticks, you want it to feel just like your acoustics did. In order to certain licks, you want that bounce like ghost notes. That works beautifully. So when tightening your head, you need to keep that in mind. This head adjustment is more so for the feel of the drums, that when the drumsticks hit the head of the drums, you just adjust it for your feel and what you want. Now I will admit, you can torque these way down and you do choke the sound because it stretches it and it don't allow it to flex up and down as it should. So keep that in mind. And basically, snug them down works good for me. To me, they adjust a lot like your acoustic drum heads did. But just make sure that you know that it does that bounce and it feels good when you are playing the drums. And when tightening, you crisscross. You don't want to warp the rim of the drum. So you just crisscross and then go here and then back here and then back over here. You know the process. Now that we have our head pre-installed, we will make adjustments. I went ahead and tightened the mesh head down. Just snugged it down, because we yet got to adjust this. Now basically the way that I adjust these, I always just leave plenty of room for it to move up and down. And what I do before I snug these bottom bolts up, which holds the tension or the pressure on the mesh head. And that was the reason of snugging it up. You kind of want it basically adjusted the way that somewhere about to where you would have it. Just a good snug. And what I do, I gently, barely just put just a little pressure on these. You practically just want it flash up against the mesh head. Maybe just with just a slight amount of pressure, just probably 1/8 of an inch of a pressure adjustment here. And hold it down as you snug the bottom bolts up and just tighten the top bolts up. Make sure everything's good and tight, and that should be pretty close to adjustment on these drum triggers. And now we will wire this up, and at the end of this video I will leave you a wiring diagram, the basic wiring diagram. Now I want to say something on these, on wiring these things. This normally is the hot, the one on the ceramic. And then the outer is the ground. Mine, in order to get these pins to work, now I noticed that when mine is wired that way, when you tap the ceramic, it will make a louder racket than it will on the flip side here. Now what I had to do to get mine to work right, now I don't know that every drum is like this, but like I said, to get mine to work, that I had to make this the ground and this the hot, and then when you tap this side of it, it had a better response than this side. Now when using cones, you want this, you will be putting your cone on top of this, and you will want it to work this way. But using these plates, that's the way that I had to wire these. But I will leave you a basic wiring diagram on wiring these up to normally the way it is. And now that we have our drum triggers adjusted and wired up, and you just plug it into this is a tom, so you can get by with a mono jack, but mine has triggers on them, so mine uses 3 wires, so on the snare and a few other ones, and all this is a Jacko. Mine's a stereo jack, a 1/4, and whatever you use will work. But when you install these wires, make sure you got it secure, that it's not flopping around in the drum shell and will move around until it breaks off. And here, make sure that this wire is not in a bind coming through here. I had one of them and the wire was still back in here, and it broke it and ruined my transducer. So just make sure when you make sure that when you glue this, that there's a little movement in this wire that it will not, that you ain't got it pulled so tight that it will break the wires as well. And make sure that there isn't so much slack in it that it moves around and breaks. So just a little snug it up there and make sure everything is secure, and you will be good to go. Now that we have our drum triggers installed and all of them hopefully working properly, I'm just going to go around the kit and just test them out a little bit. Here's the snare. Here's the tom. Tom 2. And tom 3.